and welcome back to Traitors Expert. This was an interesting episode. It was kind of predictable when it comes to who was banished and who was eliminated by the Traitors. You could kind of see this coming. Not necessarily this episode, but I think in general, Sam was a player that was doomed to be banished pretty much from the beginning. I've always said that if I was a faithful, I would suspect Sam. He comes across confident. I think he'd be a good choice for a traitor. It just kind of makes sense that he would get banished at some point. And likewise, Adam, the ghost hunter, at some point I think he was going to get eliminated. From the traitor's point of view, he hasn't had a lot of suspicion on him. I can't remember how many votes he actually had. I think it was only like 2 or 3 across the entire series. It kind of felt inevitable that he was going to get murdered at some point because he was unlikely to be banished. And you want to get rid of people like that. So both of the people that have left were kind of predictable. Yes, we don't have quite the same fireworks as we did with Harriet's departure, Amanda's departure as well, and also, of course, Fiona's departure. So it's a bit more of a run-of-the-mill episode, this. But I would say I liked the challenge in this one. The challenge was really fun. It looked like a fun thing to actually do, like to experience yourself. And I kind of like the puzzles and the cryptic part of it and trying to work that out and trying to work out the puzzles. And you could do that from home as well, like trying to work out the anagrams, although you didn't get a lot of time to do it. But yeah, it was a good challenge, and they put some exciting things into it. I was thinking, I bet Adam was absolutely gutted to have not taken part in that. You know, the ghost hunter, and they were doing like basically a haunted house. I bet he was absolutely kicking himself. But we'll talk about Adam, because there's been a lot of, 4D chess going around the idea with the shield. This has really worked out for Stephen and Rachel. They took a gamble by attacking someone that they didn't know whether or not they had a shield, and it's definitely paid off, because I think it is natural for the group, the faithful, to assume that one of the people on their team is a traitor now. And I think that's a completely fair assumption, because you would think, well, how did they know that Adam didn't have a shield? But really, they just got lucky. They just absolutely got lucky. And now it's really paid off for them. So the gamble has really paid off. But as I said in the previous episode, I don't think there's a great deal of strategy coming from the Traitors. And this is probably one of the best strategic moves they've done. And it's just based on pure chance, pretty much a 50-50 from their point of view. In the previous aftershow, I was saying it was a 1 in 3 chance, but technically from the Traitors' point of view, it was a 50-50 really, because they didn't know that Sam didn't have a shield. They kind of assumed he had a shield actually. But as the audience, you know that Sam doesn't have a shield, so then you kind of go, oh well, it's a 2 out of 3 chance that they hit a faithful with a shield. But of course, the Traitors don't know that. To them, they're looking at a team of 4 and 2 of them had shields, so it's basically 50-50. Although they kind of argued that because they thought Sam did have a shield incorrectly, that it was at a 1 in 3 chance. Which I think is it Jade who says it in the round table? Someone says, like, it would be crazy to do that, to take that risk. And it was crazy. And just because it's paid off doesn't mean it's not any crazier. Not any less crazy. I think the Traitors in this series have been they've been lucky. They've been really, really lucky. Because actually, that's something we should talk about, is the fact that Rachel, I just don't understand it. She's like Teflon or whatever, she's just dodging bullets like Neo in the Matrix, and she's just completely got away with it. She's had 2 round tables on the trot where someone in the group has directly accused her of being a traitor. They've then been voted out themselves, and she goes into this round table and she gets 0 votes. 0 votes. I just can't believe it. And like I said in the previous episode, what I would be saying to the faithful if I was a faithful is, there is this person that has had more suspicion against them than probably any other player in the game. At least direct accusations more than any other player. In such an explosive way, I guess. Like, a lot of people have had accusations against them, but these accusations were fiery. Why would you risk your prize money to keep her in the game at the final? And if the answer is no, then why are we keeping her in? Now, the only way I would say it's clever to keep her in, if you suspect she's a traitor, is that you might want to keep her around so you can vote her out at the end. Although I still don't... I guess, like, the argument is that if you know someone's a traitor, you could keep them in to prevent someone else being recruited who you're not certain of. So if you know there's one traitor, you could keep them around till the end and then vote them out at the end to prevent them being swapped out for a less obvious traitor. I can understand that argument, but that relies on you having enough people on your side to vote them out at the end. If you get to the final vote, the fire pit, and you don't have enough people on your side to get rid of them anymore, like Joe Marler, for example, then you're stuck and you might lose the game. So, yeah, I would say to them, let's vote her out now whilst we know whether or not we're right. Because if we leave her to the end, she might just get through, and we won't know if she's a traitor if we vote her out at the end. But anyway, let's move on to that, to the banishment and the vote count, which I'm sure we all love. So let's bring up who's still left out of the cast. So we currently have Ellie, Faraz, Jack, Jade, James, Jesse, Matthew, Rachel, Roxy. We did have Sam, Stephen, and we did have Adam. So Adam was unfortunately murdered. So when it came to the round table, Sam was then banished with 6 votes. Sam previously, up till this point, out of the remaining players, he was the most, out of the combined votes, he had the most combined votes of any player in the entire series. At that point, out of the remaining players, sorry. So that's what I mean by it was kind of obvious that Sam was leaving, because he did have the most combined vote count of anyone. So he had, by vote count at least, he was the most suspicious. In second place at this round table was Matt with 2 votes. That's kind of a bit random, isn't it? I don't know where that came from. James had 1 vote. Ellie had 1 vote. And Stephen did have 1 vote. Which means when we go to the total vote count, so the combined votes of everyone who's still in now, so minus Sam, minus Adam, Jade is now the new leader. She has 8 votes across the entire series. Second place, moving up a place, is Stephen. Stephen is in second place with 5 votes now. So he's only 3 behind Jade, and Jade has had a lot of suspicion on her. So could we be starting to see the downfall of Stephen? Next we have Matt and James tied on 3 votes each. We then have Adam and Ellie both tied on 2 votes each, and Rachel still with only 1 vote. It's kind of crazy that Rachel's only got 1 vote after everything that's happened. Like I say, she is doing well. Let's just look at the full numbers then. So what does that take us to? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people left, and 2 of them are traitors. So almost a quarter of the remaining players are traitors, which is kind of interesting when it comes to the question of recruitment. Why are they not recruiting? I don't really understand this. I know that if you decrease the player count, then you are increasing the percentage of the group that are traitors. If you kill, then you are increasing that percentage. But if you recruit, you're also, of course, increasing that percentage. So, you'd be 2 out of 9 players are traitors if you kill, or you'd be 3 out of 10 players if you recruit. I can't do the maths quick enough to think. I guess it's broadly the same, is it? Maybe it is better if you kill, maths wise. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of interesting that they're not recruiting. And maybe that's because I think they do actually have a bit of genuine trust in each other now. Normally, we're so used to the traitors turning on each other, and there'll become a pivotal moment where one of the traitors that you don't expect to turn on another one will turn on another one. So I'm thinking back to Series 2 with Paul and Harry. Harry, up till that point, kind of seemed the weaker traitor a little bit. He seemed less in control than Paul did. But there came this great moment where Harry put all his cards on the table, in the round table, not like Fiona did. He waited for the perfect moment to strike, and he got him out, and he turned on him. And I think because we're so used to that happening in the game, I've been kind of waiting for the moment where one of them would do it on the other one. And I kind of felt like it might be Stephen. At some point, Stephen might push Rachel over the edge. But I guess, to be fair, he hasn't had an opportunity. Rachel's had one vote across the entire series. There's not been any time when he could have joined a majority turning against her. And he's probably very conscious of that. I think both of them are actually very well embedded within the group and well liked. And that's probably why, even though someone like Jesse, who has been brilliant and has been right about a lot of stuff, Jesse has been publicly going for Stephen, and it's not been working. And this, again, speaks to that. It's not about what your argument is, it's about how you present it. And Jessie, for whatever reason, just can't get people behind her. And I think it is a bit like a sort of a clique kind of going on. And I think Rachel and Stephen are very much within that clique. And actually, that's something else that has been interesting with this series, and it does happen on other ones as well, is that I think the clique is a sort of group of like late 20s to early 40s in age groups that have kind of maybe bonded a little bit more. So that's the group that kind of Rachel and Stephen are kind of within. And we're seeing all the people on the fringes of that being banished. So a lot of the older players have been banished or, of course, murdered. So we've lost Ben, we've lost Amanda, we've lost Fiona, we've lost Harriet. They're all slightly older. Hugo, of course. All of the older players, basically. Anyone over sort of the age of about like 45 has gone. And we're left with all the kind of 30-somethings and late 20s, apart from Faraz. I think most of everyone else is like 28 upwards to about, I think Rachel's about 42, isn't she? So we've seen this kind of elimination of the older age groups, but I believe we have seen this before in previous series. I don't know what it is. Is it an unconscious bias that you are unconsciously sort of biased towards your similar age? You know, or the median age of the group. You know, if you added up everyone's ages together and then took the median, it's probably going to be around 35. So is it like, statistically, you're more likely to get towards the end of the game, get further in the game, if you're closer to that median age? I think there's probably some truth in that. Yeah, so we do see the older players get lost, unfortunately, which is a shame, because this is something I want to talk about. We are slowly losing all of the brilliant characters, you know, the more interesting players from like a TV point of view. So people with interesting jobs like Harriet, Hugo, Amanda, people bringing a different like life experience and an interesting career background. We're losing a lot of those characters, and some of them are the more charismatic ones as well, more entertaining to watch. And we're kind of being left with a collective of, like I say, roughly the same age people, and maybe on the whole less interesting people. But this happens every year. It's almost like, as a faithful, you've kind of got to be either a bit boring, come across as less intelligent, or someone that people will underestimate, or you've got to be a bit dodgy, and that's the only way you can survive till the end as a faithful. If you do anything like Harriet did, if you reveal your true colours and you reveal your intelligence, or you reveal your strategies, you're probably going to go, even if you're in the right. Which does make you then also wonder about Jessie. Because like I say, Jessie is right about things, and she's becoming increasingly vocal about her theories and pushing them more. And it kind of seems like the group aren't following her. And Stephen has now started planting seeds that Jessie could be a traitor. Because he knows, obviously, that Jessie's coming for him so strongly now. And the trend in this series has been everyone who's come up against the traitors has been taken down. Fiona, Harriet. And I do now wonder if she's not murdered, that Jessie, they will find a way to twist things round and get her banished. That feels like where we might be heading. Because when it comes to predicting the next elimination, so the choices, the top three of the traitors are Jessie, Matt and Faraz. I really don't know. I know I say this every time, but this is the thing. This is where it comes down to like core traitor tactics. Do you do something like Celebrity Traitors, where in the Celebrity Traitors, they pretty much the traitors pretty much chose the obvious choices every time. The night after Ruth Codd publicly, very strongly went against Jonathan at the round table, Jonathan Ross, that very same night they chose to murder her. Now, the most obvious person that could have done that is Jonathan Ross. So, and I mean, they didn't vote him out the night after. They voted him out a bit later on, but they didn't vote him out the night after, even though he was the most obvious choice for a picture. So that's where, like, you go for the double bluff and you hope that someone like Roxy or someone jumps in at the round table and says, well, why would a traitor do that? It's too obvious. I don't know. This is, you get into double bluffs, triple bluffs. What? I wonder, because they do make some weird decisions, this couple, Stephen and Rachel. They might do it. Because I wouldn't have expected them to have murdered instead of recruited on the previous night. So maybe, and especially because that risk paid off, maybe they will take the risk. So maybe Jessie could be going. But likewise, if she doesn't go, I think they will try and move people towards getting her out at the round table the next night anyway. And I think she could go in the round table then. Because we've seen people, she was one of the people, I don't think we actually covered this, but the people with no votes across the entire series are still Faraz, Jack, Jessie and Roxy. We've seen twice now a player go from 0 votes the day before across the entire series to being banished. So I think if Jessie's not murdered, she could be banished next episode. Very, very likely. Unfortunately, because like I said, I think she's a good character. She gives like great reactions to things. Every time they cut to her, she's just got like a mouth. Her mouth goes so wide open. It's hilarious. And I like the fact she is a clever faithful. She's right about Stephen. And I feel really bad for her. I think I could see that happening to me on the show. I could see having a theory that potentially could be right, and just no one goes with me on it. So I really sympathise with her. Because even like James isn't going with her. Even though James seems to have like formed a bit of a bond with her. Jack likewise has formed a bit of a bond with her, and he's not going with her. It's sad. But that's what I mean. It's a personality game more than it is like a strategic game. And I just think Stephen and Rachel are just somehow they're linked with the rest of the group more than Jessie is. Even though Jessie's been voted like one of the most faithful people in there. Yeah, I think they will listen to Stephen and think, yeah, it is weird that we've not put any heat on her. Let's take her out. So I think, yeah, they might keep her in and banish her instead. In which case, Jessie and Matt, I don't know. Matt and Faraz. Probably Faraz. It might be Faraz on this one. Matt, we haven't really spoken about this much. Matt and the whole recruitment side plot. Oh, it's ridiculous. He's got such main character like energy. Wrongfully placed main character energy. What's the word? Main character syndrome. He thinks he's the main character in this, and he's just not. Yeah, he's he's kind of frustrating me a little bit, and I think it'd be hilarious if they eliminate him. He's directly asked to be recruited, and they just say no. I mean, they clearly they don't want to recruit him, and I think they're right not to recruit him. I'd have been like, what are you guys doing if they recruited Matt? Because just because someone's asked for it, why? You don't want to look like you just caved to his will or whatever. And if I was a traitor, I'd much rather recruit maybe someone like Jessie. I thought that's a strategy they could have done, because Stephen had already started planting the seeds for Jessie as a traitor. If they then recruited her, they've got their sacrificial lamb that they love so much on this show. I think that could have been a good move, and at least if you want a sacrificial lamb, that could have worked. And I think also from a TV point of view, it would have been fun seeing Jessie potentially get recruited. She could have said no, I don't know. But that could have been fun. It's a shame that's not the line it seems to be going down, at least at this point, and maybe they could recruit her later on if she survives. But I think Jessie's days are numbered now, sadly. Likewise, yeah, thinking about as we get closer to the final, like who could actually get towards the final. I think James could get towards the final. I think he could be in the final because he's got that weird, like, suspicious unpredictability that works in the traitor's favour at this point. I know they've said, oh, maybe at some point he'll be right, but he's not been right so far. James could make it. You could see someone like an Ellie maybe get towards the final because she's not really contributed that much to round tables. She hasn't been right very often. That the fact she's a psychologist, that's working well for her, isn't it? That's what I mean. That's not a personal dig at her, but I just think a lot of your prior experience doesn't really make much of a difference. Yeah, who else? Matt, maybe Matt. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to predict. But obviously we're getting closer and closer now. There's only 4 episodes left off this one. Yeah. Something I just randomly want to talk about. There's a shot they keep cutting to towards the end of the episodes when everyone's like leaving the castle, and it's a shot of the grandfather clock or like, you know, an antique clock, and it will show the 12 like in Roman numerals, and it's so pixelated. Like, not the shot itself, but like the font of the Roman numeral is really pixelated. It looks like low quality, like a low quality JPEG that's been printed out onto a clock face, and it just bugs me every time they cut to it. Is that a clue? Is that a clue to something? No, of course it's not a clue. That's something we should just quickly talk about, is the family connection theories. I've heard, because the problem is I don't get a lot of time to actually watch a lot of the like ancillary stuff, you know, like when people go on This Morning, Good Morning Britain, and get interviewed. Traitors Uncloaked I'm not really able to watch because I'm recording this whilst it's on. But there was an interesting thing where Reese apparently was asked, was he related to anyone else in the game? And he didn't answer. Like, he was a bit cagey about it. And I know I've been kind of ridiculous about the family connections thing, but I do still think that family tree, that has been put there for a reason. Because you know what's interesting is, I've started watching the US Traitors, and in the US Traitors, pretty much every challenge is exactly the same. They use the same mission formats and everything. So at the equivalent point of the US Traitors, when they have to do a murder in plain sight, essentially. So in the UK series, it was mark your fingers on the family tree. In the US version, it wasn't a family tree. Instead, even though every other mission, every other challenge is almost exactly the same, down to the letter, instead of a family tree, in the US version, it's a pack of tarot cards that's hidden behind a portrait in the kitchen, and you have to then choose one of the tarot cards for the player that you want to kill, and then you burn that in the fireplace in the breakfast room, and that's how you select them. So it is interesting that everything's the same in the US one, apart from the family tree. So that family tree, basically what I'm getting at is, that isn't there just randomly. Like, that has been specifically put there, and it wasn't put there in the US version. And one of the main differences between the US version and the British version is the US version is all reality TV stars. Like, it's basically a celebrity version, whereas the UK one is real people. And one downside of using celebrities is they can't then do family connection tricks like that, because you would know, like, they're well known enough that someone in there might clock it and go, wait, hold on, I know you two are related. I've seen you both on Grazia or whatever. I don't know where Grazia came from. But so it is, I think that it does still feel like there's significance, and they do say about clues and stuff, and there is the Latin. I'm not willing to disregard this, because the family tree, they specifically came back to it after we already found out about the one only family connection we currently know about, because Ellie and Ross are relationships. That's not a family tree. Then there's the secret scroll thing, which we've done a video on, that in every episode of Traitors and Cloaks there seems to be another piece of paper in the room with them now, but they don't open, crucially. Now I then started speculating, like, what's on that piece of paper? Is there another secret connection that we do not know about that's being edited out of Traitors and Cloaks? I mean, on the other side of that argument, it could just be that on that piece of paper it tells them all the connections so far. So if I'm trying to think of someone later on who was eliminated, Reese, let's just say, if Reese opened it, it might just say there was secret connections in the game. They were Judy and Roxy, Ellie and Ross, and that's it. And then maybe when they've come back to edit Traitors and Cloaked, they've thought, that's not the most, like, entertaining reaction. Like, maybe everyone just didn't really react that much. It's doubtful. That is doubtful. I think people would give fun reactions. But maybe just even for time, they just thought, we'll put in the traitor, like, reveal, them opening the traitors, find out who the traitors are. Like, that's always fun. But maybe just for time, they just felt like, do we really need that? Like, we could just do a montage at the end when everyone opens it and we get everyone's reactions just clipped together. So it could just be that. It could just be Judy and Roxy and Ellie and Ross, and they've just cut it for time. But I want to believe still, because like I say, the family tree, and the fact that the family tree is not in the US Traitors, despite the fact that everything else is, it feels like it's there for a reason. And it's not just Judy and Roxy. I am going off my other theories, though, which we run through again. My favourite ones, Reese and Amanda, because obviously Reese and Amanda have both left the game, so that does seem a bit unlikely now. Matthew and Jack, I've really gone off this theory, despite the fact that in photo form they do look similar. In person, I think they look less and less similar. And Maz and Faraz, this still could be possible, because Faraz is still in the game. But obviously it's looking very, very unlikely, isn't it? I did start theorising in another video that maybe it's less like direct connections, but more like subtle connections, like they just share a field of work. Because it is weird how we've got like 2 police people this series, 2 barristers. It's not looking good, is it? But like I say, I've got hope that I think there is still one thing we don't know about. One thing has been left hidden. What is it? Who knows? Is it connected to the Orient Express theory that the twist of the Orient Express is that everyone is connected? And that was connected to the book that kept being shown in the early episodes. Although that book we haven't really seen again. I'm going to hold out hope that there's something. I think there is something we don't know. What that is, I don't know. But like I say, it's interesting that Reese didn't answer that question. Because he's been eliminated. Like, what would stop him from being able to say, no, I wasn't related to anyone, I'm out? Like, you would have found out by now. You know what? There was a moment when Rachel said, oh, I've had a secret in the last round table. And I was like, oh, here we go. We're going to find out that she's got a brother or something in the game. And that didn't happen. And then there was a moment in this one as well where Sam sort of said, all I want to do now is go back home and see my wife. And I was like, all I want to do now is see my wife. And I thought, oh, is he going to say, all I want, and I'll see her right now because she's Fiona. But that just shows the hysteria that's happened over this. Maybe we're theorising way too much. Actually, in previous episodes, I've not really liked the traitors that much, but I must say they have grown on me, and I'm more excited now to see where they go because, like I say, I think they're actually bonded quite well, and they're working together as a bit more of a team now. And they have this weird, I think they've got a weird sibling energy, Stephen and Rachel, like a sort of twisted siblings from like a fairy tale or something. Hansel and Gretel, but like murderous. So I'm more excited now to see how they play this moving forward. And it, like I say, it is impressive how, despite the fact I don't think they've been very good from a strategy point of view and they've had a lot of heat on them, they do keep dodging these bullets. Like, it is amazing. Yeah, so we'll see what happens in the next episode. Will Jessie go? I think she will somewhere or another. She'll be banished or murdered, which is such a shame. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I'll join you in the next episodes. Goodbye.